Action RPGs are one of those genres that just can't get old. Sure, we've all seen the dragons, wizards, warriors, and scantily clad women before, but that doesn't change the fact that these games are awesome. Now, the Dragon Age series has recently shot the action RPG back into the spotlight, but some people forget about the Dungeon Siege franchise, one of the pioneers in the genre. Of course, with their latest release, Dungeon Siege 3, we can assume a few things. The game is going to have dungeons, and it's going to kick ass. Dungeon Siege 3 lets you pick from a few different characters, and for the purpose of the review, I took the warrior, but each one has their own backstory. The game starts off with a short story about an evil sorcerer lady named Jen, or Jane, or whatever. The point is, this chick killed an entire village in a forest, and they want revenge. Of course, before you can do anything about it, you have to start off small, so you begin fighting some easier bad guys and collecting equipment. Along the way, you'll meet different people that you can talk to, and the game uses a BioWare-style wheel to give you choices. Really, it's like the exact same thing. Now, when I first started playing, I noticed that the game was a little bit boring. The pace was slow, and there wasn't very much action. However, I realized at about the 15-minute mark that the reason for this was the fact that I was outside. The game is called Dungeon Siege 3, so when I first got my opportunity to enter a dungeon, I jumped at it. This is where the game really starts to shine. There is usually a pretty linear path for these dungeons, but the way you go about defeating the enemies inside of them requires some thinking on the part of the player. For example, some moves can draw attention to other groups of enemies, and then you'll be outnumbered, so you have to pick your attacks wisely. Controls in Dungeon Siege 3 are almost perfect. Instead of using a billion different buttons to move and attack with your character, most of your moves rely on what your character is already doing. For instance, if you're holding down the left trigger when you're moving, you'll do a dodge. But if you do it while you're standing still, you can use your shield and block with your sword. This keeps the game from feeling overcomplicated, even though there is so much happening at once. Dungeon Siege 3 doesn't really stand out when it comes to visuals. Cutscenes and conversations are pretty bland looking, with faces having a little bit of an artificial feel. However, combat and environments are actually quite pretty. In addition, the frame rate is pretty constant throughout the whole game, and given the amount of stuff that is usually happening on the screen at the same time, that's really saying something. Oh, and I should mention that this game was really advertised as a great local co-op experience. Unfortunately, Edit Station 1 was too busy playing Yoshi's Story to play it with me, but it is nice to know that this is a game to play with a friend in the same room as you. Dungeon Siege 3 has the old-school dungeon crawler feel that we all love. This game does have a few little issues with its presentation, but if you're looking for an awesome action RPG, look no further.